Okay, I think we're ready.
All right.
Good morning. I'm Gary Metro. I'm the editor of the Southern Illinoisan, and this is a meeting of the Southern Illinoisan Editorial Board. We're interviewing mayoral candidate Joel Fritzler this morning, and we'll go around the table and introduce ourselves.
Good morning. I'm Joel Fritzler. I'm a candidate for mayor of Carbondale.
Bob Williams, publisher of the Southern Illinoisan.
Brent Stewart, reporter at the Southern Illinoisan.
Okay, Lion Joel, and I say that because Mr. Fritzler and I are both members of the Lions Club, and I'm not trying to cover anything up, but so now you know we're both Lions. And so tell us a little bit about your vision for Carbondale and what you hope to accomplish if you're elected mayor.
Okay. Well, first let me go a little bit over about my background, because I think everyone basically is a product of their environment. I'm a Hoosier by birth, so don't hold that against me. When I was 8, my family moved out to the state of Oregon, so I spent 21 years in the Portland area. My father was a conservative, penny-pinching CPA. He had his own small firm with about 4 or 5 employees. My mother was, stay-at-home mom most of her life. She was a librarian by trade, and then when my younger sister was in high school, then she started working as well. My undergraduate is in business administration. I also have an associate's degree in building construction technology that I did in the early 80s when there was a nice recession going on. I worked pretty much all my life since I was 10 when I started a paper route, so my career started in news as well. But I finished up, I was at a retail business, a sporting goods store. We actually had 4 stores in the Portland area. And I was there for almost 8 years before I joined the Peace Corps, and I was then in Botswana for 2.5 years working in the Peace Corps Small Business Development program. I mainly worked at a vocational training center. My main job was to run the furniture production unit, which was supposed to help subsidize the training, but then I also ended up teaching as well for a year and a half, which was probably the most rewarding part of that experience, just working with students and just seeing their skills improve. I returned home actually to go to graduate school, but I applied for a position with the United Nations with the refugee program in Malawi, and so then I ended up going to Malawi for a year. And while I was there, I learned about a new graduate program in rural community development at Illinois State. So I ended up going from one foreign country to another foreign country. If anyone's been to central Illinois, it's flatter than this table, and so it was kind of interesting because I'd never been in such a flat area in my life. So so I ended up in Carbondale. I've been here for 14 years. I came in '96 as I was trying to finish my thesis. Carbondale Main Street offered me a job as the first director for Carbondale Main Street, and so for 2.5 years I worked with the local businesses and property owners in the downtown district, helping to improve the downtown. After then, I got married about that same time, bought a fixer-upper house here in Carbondale, and so essentially the thesis went on the shelf for 2.5 years. My wife finished her master's in social work at SIU, and so I thought, well, I need to finish mine, so that's when I left Main Street to finish my degree. I've been with SIU for the last 8 years. I'm currently in the Office of Research Development and Administration, where we work with staff and faculty as they're preparing grant proposals and their budgets before they go out, and then if they get awarded, they come back to us and we review the contracts and agreements and make sure the university is protected. I've been on the city council for the last 6 years. I'm actually in the middle of my second term, which I feel of all my experiences, I feel I'm the best qualified because I wear the 3 hats of having the experience of being on the city council, working at SIU, because I'm very, interested in that relationship, just out of self-preservation, and job security, and also having worked with the local business community. My vision for the city, first of all, I think my main goal is to keep the city solvent. As you know, we're still in a bit of a recession, and also with things going on up in Springfield with new expenses that they've sent our way with increasing pension costs, and at the same time reducing our share of the state income tax amounts. Like this past year, we almost had an increase of almost $1 million in pension costs, and then they also took away $500,000 in what we normally would receive in the state income tax share. So that's my main goal is just keeping us on track. I mean, our revenues right now are pretty on track, but there just isn't any additional funds or frosting to do any grandiose plans, which a lot of times new candidates always have these grand plans, but when they get in office, they get a quick dose of reality, which I think I've had the last 6 years. I guess my long-term goal is to help improve the central core area of town, which I think it would be beneficial for SIU, because I think one of the reasons why we have lost students, or why enrollment has gone down for the last 6 consecutive years, is because of our housing stock, and that's one area that the city can help out the university by fairly enforcing our zoning codes and ordinances, to help clean up those areas. And because a lot of times, well, obviously all the time, when parents bring their kids down to look at SIU, they're looking for good academic programs, but they want to make sure there's a safe place for their sons and daughters to live. So that's my focus, as well as working in those areas. Other than that, I feel I have a good working relationship with the city staff, knowing how the budget's put together and how that works out. I've been very involved with other community organizations. I'm on the board for the Red Cross. I'm also a disaster service volunteer with the Red Cross. I've been on the Keep Carbondale Beautiful board for, I've lost track, about 8 years. I was president for Carbondale United Way for 2 years. Actually, I have sort of a joke with, because Stephen Haynes was the president prior to my becoming president, and he got off the board by getting elected to the city council. And so then when I got first elected to the city council, that was my excuse for leaving United Way. And I told my successor, says, well, the only way off is get on the city council. And I think she's still board president for United Way. So I've been very involved with Carbondale. I'm one of those, in one way, I'm in the majority. I think a lot of people that came thinking they would stay for a couple of years, and 14, 20, 30 years later, they're still here because they fall in love with the area. It's a great environment. We have excellent water. That's one of the key reasons that actually brought me to Carbondale, was our water, even though I'm drinking some bottled water now. That's, I guess, it in a nutshell.
Well, you've outlined a couple of thoughts. Talk about housing stock and what specifically the mayor could do to improve it, and to go a little bit further, talk too about the percentage of rental units versus owner occupied, and what that represents to you.
Okay, yeah, we're probably 70 to 74% rental property as far as our residential use. And that's houses and apartments, condos, fourplexes, duplexes, which I guess is fairly typical for a college town. And I would like to see us continue with a program that got started actually under Mayor Cole. It was a sort of a rental conversion program where we would give grants, $5,000 if people were converting an existing rental property into a owner-occupied property. And the way that worked, actually the $5,000 excuse me, the $5,000 could be used for closing costs, for renovations, whatever they wanted to use it for, towards the purchase of the property. And then the way it's written is it has to be continually an owner-occupied facility, and I believe it's for 10 years. So that's one program I'd like to see continued. Another program I would like to initiate is just educating students and their parents on the benefits of owner, or just home ownership. I think it's good for them because, obviously your rent is going to your mortgage is going to be lower than your rent. You're getting some principal, and it's a good investment, but it also be good for SIU and the city, because then I would suspect if someone buys a house, they're going to be more apt to stick around for more than just a semester or a year or even 2 years, because they're going to I'm invested in this house, so I'll spend hopefully another 4 years or maybe even 6 years at SIU. Because actually the first house that my wife and I bought was on Dixon Avenue, and at the time our neighbors to the south, it was owned by the parents of an SIU student, and he ended up being here on the 6-year plan, so I guess it was a good investment for his parents, even though they probably paid more tuition than they had planned on, so that balances itself out there. But I think as mayor, as I mentioned before, how we can help improve this area is just making sure that our codes are being enforced fairly and uniformly across the board. 'Cause, you know, I mean, you look at some of the properties, and in talking with some people, it just seems like some properties are allowed to, I guess, get away with things where other people, you know, are kind of forced to, you know, clean up their act. And I would say overall, we have some really good landlords in Carbondale. There's a few that own, you know, some of the large holdings, and you know, sometimes I guess if you're a larger property owner, sometimes it's easier to let things, you know, go down. But I mean, sometimes I just don't understand that, because I mean, the students, I mean, they're our customers. They're the landlord's customers. They're SIU's customers. They're the city's customers. You know, the business owners in town. They're your guys' customers too. So, you know, and it's a lot easier to, you know, make a customer happy than getting a new customer.